A long time ago, in the year 1623, there was a small village surrounded by hills and forests. In this village lived a young man named Jack. He stayed in an old, broken house with his grandmother, whom he called Nana. Jack was very poor. His clothes were torn, and his shoes had holes. The house he lived in was falling apart. The roof leaked when it rained, and the walls were cracked. He had no land, no animals, and no money. But Jack was not honest. He was greedy. He wanted to be rich quickly, without working hard. He didn't help the farmers or learn a trade. Instead, he stole from people. He robbed travelers, and sometimes even his neighbors. Most of the time he got caught and beaten. His grandmother, Nana, was kind and wise. She always told him, Jack, work with honesty. Stealing will only bring trouble. If you work hard, you will live in peace. But Jack never listened. He laughed at her advice. He dreamed of gold, fine clothes, and a big house. He wanted to leave the village and live like a king. One night, when the sky was dark and the wind was strong, Jack made a decision. He was going to chase his dream, no matter the cost. Days passed. Then months, then years. But nothing changed. Jack's greed only grew stronger. He no longer just stole. He started hurting people for money. Some even said he tried to kill. His heart had turned cold, and his eyes were always searching for gold. His grandmother, Nana, became deeply worried. She saw the darkness growing inside him. One evening she called him to her bedside. Her voice was weak, but serious. Jack, she said, I have a secret to tell you. My mother told me this long ago, but I never believed it. Jack frowned. What are you talking about? Nana looked at him with tired eyes. Far from here, deep in the forest, there is a hidden well. No one knows about it. My mother said a black magician told her about it. Inside that well lives a monster, a terrible creature. He always carries a bag tied to his belly. That bag is full of gold coins. Oui, sir, Secreso. Jack's eyes lit up, but Nana raised her hand. Don't be foolish, she warned. The monster is dangerous. He has only one weakness. He loves raw meat. My mother once went there with a piece of meat. She climbed down into the well, called the monster, and threw the meat in front of him. While he was busy eating, she took out a knife and cut the bag. The coins spilled out. She grabbed as many as she could and climbed back up the rope. She survived, Nana said, because she wasn't greedy. She took only what she needed and left quickly. But if she had stayed even a little longer, the monster would have eaten her. Her spirit would be trapped in that well forever. Jack was silent. His mind was racing. You've left me no other choice, Nana said softly. Go. Take what you need. But remember, greed will destroy you. Those were her final words. That night, Nana passed away. After his grandmother passed away, Jack felt lost. Her final words echoed in his mind. He didn't know if the story was true, but one day he thought, let's find out. He went to the butcher's shop and bought a large piece of raw meat. Then he followed the direction his grandmother had once pointed to. He walked for 3 days through the deep forest. The trees grew thick, the air was cold, and strange sounds filled the night. Finally, Jack found the well. It was old, so old it looked like no one had visited it for hundreds of years. The stones were cracked, and moss covered the edges. Jack tied a rope to a nearby tree and climbed down into the darkness. At the bottom of the well, he saw something unexpected, a tunnel. It was long, deep, and terrifying. The air was damp and the walls seemed to breathe. Jack stood still, then shouted into the tunnel, I have your meat, come get it. Suddenly, everything went silent. The forest, the tunnel, even Jack's heartbeat seemed to stop. Then, from the shadows, a loud, heavy voice echoed. A monster appeared. A monster appeared. It was just as his grandmother had described, huge, terrifying, with glowing eyes and a bag of gold coins tied to its belly. The creature stepped closer. Jack froze. He had never seen anything like it. Somehow he managed to throw the piece of meat toward the monster. The creature grabbed it and began eating quickly, making loud, wet sounds. Jack saw his chance. He pulled out the knife and ran forward. With one quick slash, he cut the bag. Gold coins spilled onto the ground. Jack grabbed as many as he could, stuffing them into his pockets and shirt. Then he turned and ran. He climbed the rope as fast as his hands could move. The monster roared behind him, but Jack didn't look back. He reached the top of the well just in time. Breathing hard, covered in dirt and sweat, Jack looked around. The forest was quiet again. He had survived. He returned to his village with gold in his pockets and a story no one would believe. Jack's life had changed. He was no longer poor. He had gold land, a strong house, and fine clothes. But deep inside, his greed was still growing. The monster in the well carried a curse. But greed was an even stronger curse. It never stops. It never sleeps. One day Jack sat alone and thought, if one visit made me rich, what if I go again? What if I bring 5 pieces of meat? I'll have so much gold, I'll never worry again. He didn't tell anyone. That night, he went to the butcher and bought 5 large pieces of raw meat. Then he walked back into the thick forest, following the same path his grandmother had once shown him. The forest was darker than before. The trees looked twisted. The wind whispered strange sounds. It was midnight, and everything felt horrible. Jack reached the old well. It was still broken, still silent. He tied the rope again, just like last time, and climbed down into the deep, cold darkness. At the bottom, the tunnel was waiting. It felt even longer now. The air was heavy. Jack stepped forward and shouted, "I have your meat. Come get it." The silence returned. Then, slowly, the ground began to shake. The monster was coming. This time, Jack wasn't afraid. He was excited, curious, ready to gather more gold than ever before. He had brought 5 large pieces of meat, and in his mind he was already rich beyond imagination. He tied the rope to the same tree and climbed down into the well once again. Then suddenly Jack's eyes opened wide. He froze. His heart dropped. From the shadows something began to move, but it wasn't the same as before. The monster was bigger now. Its eyes burned brighter. Its body seemed twisted, angry, and hungry. Jack's excitement vanished. Fear took over. His legs shook. He fell to his knees. His whole life flashed before his eyes. His childhood, his grandmother's voice, the first time he stole, the moment he found the gold. It all passed through his mind like a storm. He felt like this was the end. The cave around him seemed alive. The walls pulsed. The air screamed, and the monster stepped closer. Jack stood in the dark tunnel, holding his bag of meat, ready to face the monster again. But this time, it wasn't just one. From the shadows, 5 monsters appeared. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5. Each one was huge, terrifying, and carried a bag of gold coins tied to its belly. Their eyes glowed like fire. Their breath was heavy and loud. The ground shook with every step they took. Jack was speechless. His brain stopped working. His body froze. But now, it was too late. Jack had come back for more. He had ignored the warning. He had fed his greed, and now he was surrounded. The monster stepped closer. The tunnel grew darker. Jack's heart pounded like a drum. He was caught, not by the monsters, but by his own greed. Jack's hands trembled as he reached into his bag and pulled out a piece of meat. The 5 monsters were coming closer. Their eyes burned like fire. Their footsteps shook the ground. Jack threw the meat toward them. They stopped. For a moment he hoped it would work, but it didn't. The meat was enough for 1, maybe 2, but not 5. The monsters devoured it in seconds, 1 bite each. Then they looked up, their mouths still dripping, their eyes locked on Jack. Now he felt it. Death. It was standing right in front of him, wearing 5 faces. Jack's heart pounded. His legs gave out. He dropped to the ground. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. He remembered his grandmother's voice, her warning, her story, her love. But it was too late. His greed had brought him here, and now it would take everything from him. The monsters stepped closer, their shadows swallowing the light. Jack closed his eyes. Jack's heart was racing. The 4 monsters were busy, tearing into the meat with wild hunger. Their growls echoed through the tunnel like thunder. Bones cracked, flesh tore. It was chaos. But one monster stood still, the 5th. It hadn't moved. It hadn't blinked. It just stared at Jack with glowing red eyes, its mouth curled into a silent snarl. The others were distracted. But this one wasn't fooled. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He had made a mistake. A deadly one. He turned and ran. The tunnel felt longer now. The air was thick, like it was trying to hold him back. Jack reached the rope and grabbed it with shaking hands. He began to climb, fast, desperate, blood pounding in his ears. Behind him, the fifth monster roared. It charged forward, its footsteps shaking the ground. Jack climbed faster, pulling himself up with every ounce of strength. He could see the edge of the well. He was almost there, but the monster was tall, too tall. Its arm reached up, claws stretching through the darkness. Jack felt something grab his leg. Then pain. Sharp, burning pain. Pang. The monster had bitten him. Jack screamed. His leg felt like fire. Blood poured down, dripping onto the stones below. But he didn't stop. He kept climbing, dragging his body upward. Inch by inch, the monster roared again, but Jack didn't look back. He reached the top and rolled onto the forest floor, gasping for air. The night was cold. The stars above looked distant and cruel. He had escaped, but something was wrong. His leg throbbed with pain. The bite was deep. And as he looked down, he saw something strange. His skin around the wound was turning dark, almost black. The forest was silent, but Jack knew the curse had followed him. Jack dragged himself through the forest, his leg bleeding, his body weak. The pain was unbearable. He couldn't stand. He crawled toward his horse, using every bit of strength he had left. He climbed onto the saddle, hoping to escape the forest. But something stopped him. An invisible force, like a wall, blocked his path. No matter how hard the horse tried, it couldn't move forward. Jack felt a sharp pain shoot through his body. His blood was changing. His skin was turning cold. His thoughts were no longer his own. He was becoming one of them. His greed had drowned him. Now, he belonged to the well. Jack fell off the horse and hit the ground hard. His legs were no longer human. They had turned dark, twisted, monstrous. He cried. Not from pain, but from regret. He cried for every mistake, every lie, every time he ignored his grandmother's voice. It was too late. Then, through the trees, he saw people coming, a group of men. His heart lifted. Maybe they could help. But they weren't helpers. They were robbers. They searched him and his horse. They took everything, his gold, his supplies, even his boots. They laughed and turned to leave, ready to let him die alone. But Jack called out. "Wait," he said, his voice weak but sharp. "I can tell you a truth that will change your life forever. You won't need to rob anyone after this. You'll be rich, very rich, very rich." The robbers paused. One of them stepped forward. "What truth?" he asked. Jack looked into his eyes. "Promise me," he said. "You'll kill me after I tell you. Promise me you'll end it." The robber nodded. Jack told him everything. The well, the monsters, the gold, the curse, the bite, the price of greed. When he finished, the robber kept his word. Jack was murdered there in the forest under the cold moonlight. But the story didn't end. Now, someone else knew the secret, a new successor. And the question remains, if you were in that robber's place, would you dare to go? Would you chase the gold? Or would you walk away and not let greed decide your future?